Good day, everyone. Our program will begin in about 30 seconds. Good day. Welcome to Advocacy Anywhere, powered by AJC. Advocacy Anywhere is AJC's new digital platform that will enable you to engage with AJC's global expertise, content, and advocacy from wherever you are. Today's program is brought to you in partnership with Jewish Insider. You can sign up for Jewish Insider's daily kickoff by visiting www.jewishinsider.com. With over 100,000 reported cases of the coronavirus and more than 10,000 deaths after the United States and Italy, Spain ranks third in cases of COVID-19 and is second only to Italy in total fatalities. The country is now a major epicenter of the pandemic. On Monday, in an effort to stem the tide of the pandemic, the Spanish government called for a nationwide hibernation through April 9th. Joining us today for an exclusive conversation about the situation in Spain are Ambassador Santiago Cabanas, Ambassador of Spain to the United States, and Isaac Querub, President of the Federation of Jewish Communities of Spain. Our briefing will be moderated by Dina Siegel Vann, who serves as Director of the AJC Arthur and Rochelle Belfer Institute for Latino and Latin American Affairs. After we hear from the Ambassador and then from Isaac, we will take your questions. You may email your questions to questions@ajc.org, questions is plural, or use the Q&A feature in Zoom. Dina, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ali. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Ambassador Cabanas. Muchas gracias nuevamente for joining us for this conversation among friends about how your country continues to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. Yesterday, we know it was a particularly difficult day as your country reached 10,000 deaths, which is 20% of the world's total. Our gratitude as well to our partner, Isaac Querub. He's the president, as Ali said, of the Federation of Jewish Communities of Spain, which is an AJC institutional partner. And I would also like to recognize a good friend of Spain and of AJC, Ambassador Alan Solomon, who is joining us on this call. He was the former ambassador of the United States to Madrid. So let us begin. Mr. Ambassador, can you please provide us with a first-hand assessment of the state of affairs in your country? What are the prevailing challenges? What are the prevailing trends? And is it true that the country is turning the corner and there's a flattening of the curve?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Dina. I appreciate very much this opportunity, this invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you, a good old friend of Spain and of this embassy, and also to be at the same time with Isaac Querub. And it's an honor for me. Well, I'll try to answer your question. The situation is really terrible. We have to admit that. It's very impressive. The numbers that you have mentioned, more than 110,000 confirmed and close to 11,000 people dead. The numbers are sobering, really very impressive. But Spain is fighting this pandemic, like most countries, with all its strengths. We have been hit very seriously, but I think, yes, answering your question, that we are entering, according to the data that that are available, we're entering this stabilization phase, and that it shows that the very harsh mitigation measures are working. Since the 14th of March, indeed, when the alarm situation was declared with stay-at-home orders for our 47 million inhabitants in Spain, these measures, together with the three big economic packages that have been approved by the Spanish government, a very ambitious social and economic plan, I think we are in the right direction. We're trying to help our people, we're trying to help the Spaniards, and we're trying to help at the same time the economy. as I'm in my phone from time to time, there will be some ringing, but it's okay. So I think it's working indeed. The challenges are enormous, but thanks to the support of the whole of the Spanish population, and thanks also, I think, to international support, because this is a global threat and it has to be addressed globally. We're entering a new phase, the stabilization phase, and hopefully in a few weeks, we will be able to return to normalcy.
Thank you so much. Indeed, very dire challenges ahead. I'm going to pivot now because you mentioned international support. So I want to talk a little about the regional and global dimensions of the pandemic. We read that apparently after last week's intra-European disagreements, there is a rescue package that is being now discussed in Brussels, and that next week, apparently there's going to be some sort of agreement, a rescue package to support all the countries that have been affected by the pandemic. Can you please comment on this? And also, if you can comment about China and Russia and the use of soft power to gain global ascendancy. Can you tell us what has been your experience in your country?
Well, I have to say that, yes, this is a global challenge. And our foreign minister, González Laya, published an op-ed a few days ago in the Washington Post. And she was referring to these challenges, and she was proposing 4 main areas in which we could enhance our cooperation, international cooperation. The first one was global coordination for containment measures. This is very important, obviously. We cannot do it alone. The second one would be a strengthening of international prevention systems for the future. And this would mean that the scientific community would have to work together. And thirdly, there is a need for global coordination for a jump start of our economies. Alone, we can do very little. And I will answer the question about the EU immediately regarding this issue. But the fourth one also is very important. This, I think, pandemic, this crisis is showing that our global institutions are not working properly. We have to find a way in which we have to reform the global institutions. And these, I think, will oblige us to a very serious conversation, a very serious dialogue. And our foreign minister was proposing that this should take place during the General Assembly in September, when hopefully we can meet again face-to-face in New York and find the way of a governing structure for the world order that would permit really this enhanced cooperation. And this applies also to the European Union. Inside the European Union, obviously there are difference of opinions. We've seen it in the press, and there's no surprise. But I have to say that the European Union is showing also quite a degree of coordination in quite a few measures that is already taken. There has been some budgetary changes in the EU budget to address the most urgent medical and health issues. There's been other projects that have been put into place. For instance, we have created the coronavirus response investment incentive with, I think, close to 40 billion euros. And we have activated, it's there to be used, the European Financial Stabilization Mechanism. We have also activated the European Civil Protection Mechanism. And yes, we need more actions yet. And hopefully these measures that you have mentioned will be approved soon. The only thing I can say now, because I'm not informed of what's going on in the latest negotiations, in that this is the time for solidarity in Europe. This same solidarity that we're seeing all over the balconies of Europe at 8 o'clock in the evening, applauding and thanking our security forces, our medics, our health workers, is the solidarity that we should see in Brussels and among the member states of the European Union. It's not the time to think about whose fault it is. This is not the crisis of 2008, 2010, when you could see, well, you're more affected because you didn't do what you should have done. In these cases, the crisis affects everyone and no one is to blame. So we should be all together. We should show the solidarity. As Jean Monnet, the father, one of the fathers of the European project, used to say that Europe will be built on crisis. This is true. And crises are always opportunities. But crises, if they're not well managed, can also be a recipe for disaster. So I think it's the time for the European Union to stick together and to show solidarity. Hopefully we will be seeing it in the next weeks. And again, we've been seeing it already in different instances.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And it sounds hopeful. And we hope that the European Union will be able to rise to the occasion. Can you please also discuss China, what I mentioned, the use of China's soft power in Europe and elsewhere? What is your perspective on that, and what has been Spain's experience?
Well, I think we have 4 battles in front of us. The battle, the health battle, protection of our citizens, the economic battle, and this is being able to maintain a certain degree of economic activity and jumpstart our economies, the sooner the better, because it doesn't make sense just to protect and to be, of course, confined if there is no economic activity for a long time, for a long period of time. We have to do this balance, protecting our citizens, mitigation measures, but at the same time, the battle for the economic recovery. And there is a third battle, which is the narrative battle. And this will come afterwards. And this narrative is important because we're seeing, perhaps for the first time, that other nations that wouldn't be known for their soft power are using soft power like China is. So we have to be grateful for the support they're giving and the support they're giving to Spain and other countries, but we cannot be naive. There is a battle, a narrative battle here, and we should be aware of it. And then there is another battle, which is still not very present, but it's linked to the other 3, which is the battle for the new world order. And then we have to be aware that there is a risk of shifting relations of powers and tensions, political tensions in the world. And we have to make sure that the new world that we will be creating, and I go back to what our minister said, we need new governing structures, reformed governing structures for the international world, are according to the values and the principles that we cherish: democracy, rule of law, respect of human rights. Because there is a danger, indeed, that some parts of the world will look at China and will look at other models of authoritarian or more authoritarian regimes and be tempted to believe that they're more efficient in fighting against these pandemics. So these 4 battles are interconnected, and we should be aware of what's going on in the world, apart from the immediate, urgent, crucial battle to really win against the virus.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. We're going to open the floor now to questions from our audience. Ali?
Thank you, Dina. I just want to remind everyone on the line that if you'd like to submit a question, you can do so by emailing questions, that's questions plural, at ajc.org, or by using the Q&A feature in Zoom. Dina, our first question is for the ambassador, is from Shrub Kempner of Galveston, Texas. Ambassador, can you report on the possibilities of Euro coronavirus bonds, which up until now have been held up by Germany?
Well, this is indeed an option, and we do support the proposals of European Central Bank Chair Christine Lagarde to establish a joint mechanism to sustain member states' financial efforts. We understand the difficulties, we believe that this is the moment, as I said, of solidarity, whether it's Corona bonds, whether it's an enhanced use of the European Financial Stabilization Mechanism, whether it is another form of mutualization of sovereign debt. We believe that the crisis is so serious, so grave, that we need mechanism to sustain the financial efforts that are needed to jumpstart our economies. And I'm sure, as usual, that the European Union will find a solution. It's understandable, it always happens, that we have different perceptions regarding these new mechanisms and regarding the way in which we should establish this support, this financial support. But we will find a way. I'm sure we will find a way.
Great. Our next question, actually, we're getting several questions along similar lines, so I'll pose both at the same time. What has been the cooperation between Spain and two countries of particular interest to our audience, the cooperation between Spain and the United States and between Spain and Israel?
Well, I would talk about the cooperation between Spain and the United States. I don't think I have sufficient knowledge to talk about the cooperation between Spain and Israel, but I'm sure it's been excellent too. Regarding the state of our relations, I'm sure it is excellent, but I'm afraid I don't have the information, and I'm not the one to speak about that. But I can talk about the cooperation between Spain and the United States, and I think it's been excellent at all levels. Have you seen probably in the press that during this latest weeks there's been talks between President Trump and His Majesty the King, in fact between the President and the First Lady and Their Majesties King Felipe and Queen Letizia. There's been talks between our Foreign Minister with the Secretary of State and with the National Security Advisor, and other talks between other ministers, science and technology, commerce, all kinds of conversations, finance, at that high level. But I can also assure you that at my level, I'm in permanent contact with different members of the administration, assuring that there's a good coordination, that there is a good exchange of scientific information, and that there is support wherever we can support each other. So I can only say that really we are very appreciative of the support we're getting and that we're trying also to give, of the coordination in our joint efforts to fight the virus, and very important, the support and the coordination we have to help our citizens, because that's a crucial issue. One of our main works, one of our main objectives now at the embassy, and I'm sure my colleague Ambassador Buchan in Madrid is exactly doing the same thing, is to protect our citizens, American citizens in Spain and Spanish citizens in the United States. We're concentrated, all our consulate generals, 9 consulate generals all over the United States, covering the whole territory of this great nation, and here at the embassy, we're working hard to protect our citizens. And for that, we need and we have the support of the American administration.
Thank you, Ambassador. Our next question comes from a board member in Chicago, and they'd like to know, what has been the Spanish government's economic response to the crisis? Is the government providing any aid to its citizens, any stimulus, etc.?
Oh, yes, it is, indeed. And I'm very pleased to say that these have been very important measures. We have, as I mentioned, approved 3 main packages. The first one was on March the 12th, aiming at mitigating the crisis impact on health services, families and business, about 80 billion euros, if I'm not mistaken. And it goes from support of healthcare workers and providers to school lunches to kids in vulnerable situation to labor protection. The second one was approved on March 17th, and it has mobilized a huge amount of money. It's a comprehensive economic and social plan, again, trying to balance the economic points with the protection efforts, probably the biggest package, economic and social package in our history. And the third one on March 31st, just a few days ago, which includes 50 measures, very important measures, again, trying to help the economy and protect our citizens at the same time. I will mention just some of these 50 measures. It forbids evictions during the period of this alarm period. It establishes microcredits for payment of rent for people who cannot pay the rent with, I believe, it's 10 years term of payment. It provides a moratorium on social security payments, and it established also a prohibition for utilities companies to interrupt the basic services, water, gas, electricity, phone, etc., etc. And it also provides additional subsidies for temporary workers. So I think it's a very comprehensive package, like most countries are doing. Also, the United States is approving huge economic packages with the same aim, to try to protect the citizens, which is, I think, the first priority for everyone, and at the same time to try to protect the economy.
Great, thank you. Our next question comes from a board member in San Francisco, and they'd like to know, are there particular geographic regions of Spain that are seeing more of the virus? Are there particular populations that are more affected than others?
Well, I have the information that we all have, and that there are certain regions that are more affected. And like in the rest of the world, it tends to be at the big cities, urban areas like Madrid and Barcelona, and thus Catalonia and Madrid are more affected than other regions. The same happens here in the United States. It's the urban areas, New York and New Jersey and Los Angeles, that are more affected. And rural areas, with the exception of some clusters for one reason or the other, are less affected, because obviously social contact is more easily avoided and mitigation measures are readily accepted because distances are great. In urban conglomerations, in big cities, it's much more difficult to maintain this social distancing and mitigation measures. So I think in Spain, like in most countries, it's the big urban areas where the virus is more, the numbers of the virus are greater.
Great, and we'll take one last question for you, Ambassador, from Mario Fleck, who's the co-chair of the Belfer Institute for Latino and Latin American Affairs. And Mario wants to know, what lessons can other countries learn from Spain in dealing with the situation? And what do you think the reason was for the explosion of cases in Spain?
Well, we're receiving here at the embassy many messages of solidarity from US citizens and from Spaniards living in the United States. And I remember particularly one in which a gentleman writing from here, from the area, told us, you know, think that all these terrible things that are happening to you have a positive side. And that is that we are able to learn from your experience here in the United States. And I hope indeed that this, the terrible situation in my country, in Italy and other countries, will serve as a warning to other areas, because it's true, we tend to believe that we will be able to ride out the crisis and it will not affect us as hard as in other areas. But the truth is that this virus can affect anywhere in the world. And I hope that the lessons from our experience, from Italy's experience, and those are obvious, mitigation works, social distancing works, and the measures that have been adopted by the Spanish government are working, difficult as it might seem and terrible as the numbers are. But the truth is that we are arriving in that phase of stabilization, which hopefully will permit us to really start seeing numbers decreasing, less deaths and less families affected by this terrible situation. Hopefully it will be like that.
I know I said that that was our last question for you, Ambassador, but I do have just one more because AJC CEO David Harris has a question. And David wants to know, Spain has been a country of immigration from both Africa and Latin America. How is Spain dealing with migration in the midst of the pandemic?
Well, as you know, my respects to you, David, if you're listening. As you know, we've had an immigration issue in Spain, but it hasn't been a problem like in other countries. Spanish society has dealt with immigration, I think, in a way in which we haven't had really a serious problem with immigration. And our immigrants have been adapting rather well to the country. And of course, it is a problem, and of course, it is an issue that we have to address. But I don't think it's connected now to coronavirus crisis. In some of the countries, it might be. Not that I'm aware of. I'm here in the United States, and perhaps I don't have the sensitivity that others might have living there. And perhaps Isaac Querub might be able to say a few words about that. But my impression that these are not issues that are being linked by our public opinion and our political parties. They're two different issues. And thank God, we are a tolerant country. We are a country with solidarity is a norm accepted by almost everyone, and we're seeing it now. I'm really moved by all the examples of solidarity that we're seeing every day coming from every village and every city of Spain. And this is something that also many people here in the United States brings up when talking to me. Just some of the viral tweets or the viral videos of people doing extraordinary things to help their neighbors and to help the people living in their villages and in their cities. The solidarity shown towards medical people, towards police and security forces, this is amazing. And I think this is a solidarity that is shown also to immigrants. For the moment, I don't see any problem or any connection with coronavirus and immigration.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your time today. And now we'd like to bring Isaac Querub into the conversation. Dina, if you want to introduce Isaac.
Of course. Isaac Querub, as I mentioned, is the president of the Federation of Jewish Communities of Spain. He's based in Madrid. He has been a long-time friend. He's an activist, very well known in the Jewish world, not only in Spain, but beyond. And it's really a pleasure and a privilege to have him with us today. Isaac, hello, how are you again?
Hi, Dina, how are you?
How are you doing? How is the community? What can you tell us about
First of all, I would like to thank you very much, to thank AJC for inviting us to this video conference. And I would like to thank particularly Ambassador Cabanas, who say very interesting things about what's going on in Spain. It's incredible that being in Washington so far, he's able to describe what's going on in Spain. And he did it with a lot of sensitivity, which is true. Listen, Dina, this is an unprecedented situation. We have no experience. This pandemic is a new human experience. When you heard what the ambassador says, no? Today, and maybe by end of this weekend, we will have more than 12,000 deaths. We now used to forget about what we're talking about, and we are counting people who die. And at this stage, we start knowing and putting names and face to the people who die. Everybody in Spain has somebody who is known, close to his family, close to his friends. We all have somebody who is dying or is in the hospital or is sick. It's unbelievable. So, you know, 11,000 deaths, almost 120,000 infected, and only in 3 weeks. It's incredible. And of course, you know that, as you mentioned before, the Federation represents officially the Spanish jury, according to a bill which passed in 1992. The Federation is representing all the communities and all associations, Jewish associations in Spain. So when we speak on behalf of the Spanish jury. And we are extremely concerned. But thanks God, we keep strong, we keep in control. We think that the Spanish government and the authorities are doing their best to sort out this pandemic. It is true, like you'll see in the States and some other countries, we have new eras in this country when we talk about the hospital people and the security forces people. Incredible what they're doing, amazing, because sometimes we don't have the means, or the means came too late. Of course, we can discuss about the management of the crisis. For sure, a lot of people saying that government can do better, but we can always say this. I think in all our countries, with some exception, but like in United States, like in Latin America, like in UK, maybe we start a bit later, acknowledging the gravity, the seriousness of this pandemic. So now it's useless to see on our back. We should see in advance, and we should keep strong. We should try to face these challenging times with solidarity, with a lot of reflection. We should try to take advantage of the knowledge of others. I think we should see what China, what Singapore, what South Korea, what Israel have been doing in order to better control this pandemic.
Thank you, Isaac. I wanted to ask you about this, specifically about the community, how the community is dealing with this, if there have been casualties. As you know, we had a conversation among the representatives of all Iberian American Jewish communities 2 weeks ago, and they were discussing different experiences and learning from one another. And we also heard that in Spain, you know, you're very organized, but there's been some challenges. Can you share with us what's going on in Spain, please?
First of all, I should say that Jewish community is a small community. We represent maybe 0.08% of the population in Spain. We can talk about 45,000 people registered in our communities. We are extremely well integrated in the Spanish society. Spanish society is a very tolerant society, we're very respectful. I must remember all your associates or members of the American Jewish Community Committee that in the last 5 years, 3 bills have passed in the Spanish Parliament. One regarding the education, whereby today the study of Holocaust is compulsory for the people, for the students of 15 years old. Number 2, under our instigation, a bill has been passed in order to reform the criminal code, whereby today the denial of the Holocaust is punished. And number three, as you know, Dina, because we have been talking about it, a third bill has passed in 2015, whereby the Spanish government has been granting the Spanish citizenship to all Sephardic people, to all people who can demonstrate their Sephardic origin. So that means a lot, and we are extremely thankful, first of all, to the King of Spain, who has been extremely helpful for all those bills which passed in the Spanish Parliament. We are thankful to the government of the Partido Popular and also from the Socialist Party. We thank the media. They have been extremely supportive of those bills. It is true that we still find out some anti-Semitism in this country, and particularly on the net, and this is the reason why this bill has been passed. But today, you know, and according to the Constitution of 1978, Jews have equal rights than any other citizen in this country. So we are facing this challenge, this pandemic, exactly the same way that the rest of the Spanish citizens. In our communities, we have 13 communities. We have more or less 85 infected of coronavirus. And regretfully, we have around 6 deaths already. I can tell you that all the communities are having or are focused in trying to sort out all the problems we have and we will have in the future. I think the main challenge we have is to focus on the elderly people. That's important. You can take an example like my mom. My mom is alone. She is 87. She's living alone. We should keep at home according to the royal decree. So it's incredible. But a Shabbat or the next Seder in Pesach, she will be alone. You know? And that affects the same thing in all communities. It's our challenge. We are in contact. We have created a channel, especially from the Federation, in order to be in touch with all communities at the same time. So believe me, I think we are in control. We are in contact also with the health authority in this country, with the security. Of course, we may have problems when we talk about the burials. That could be a problem, but I can tell you that the Hevra Kadisha in Madrid or Barcelona have an agreement with the local authority, and still we can keep burying our people according to the Jewish tradition. Not that easy because the family cannot attend, but this is also a challenge. No? And of course, we should think about the future. We should keep strong. The economy will suffer a lot. We may say that this is a crisis, maybe the most serious and grave crisis after the Civil War, the Second World War, or the 2008 crisis. Our grandpas, our parents never faced such a crisis. So there is uncertainty. There is the economy will be affected, and of course the communities will be affected. You know, I must say that the unemployment in this country will increase a lot. Only in the last 3 weeks, 1 million people in this country is unemployed. No, so if by end of February, we had in this country 13.6% of unemployment. We can say that by end of May or by end of June, we may reach 25% unemployment. And you can understand, as a small community, the community will suffer a lot.
Of course, we understand, Isaac, and we hope that being part of AJC, being part of this global network, provides some solace and some support. There's a lot of dire scenarios that we're going to be facing together, and I hope that you feel our friendship and solidarity always, as we've done for so many years.
Thank you very much.
Yes, no, it's our pleasure, Isaac. Ali, I think we're going to open for questions again, please.
Sure. Thank you, Isaac. I just want to reiterate that if anyone has a question, you can email questions@ajc.org, or you can use the Q&A feature in Zoom. Isaac, in the United States, Asian Americans have been the victims of hostility and blame as the coronavirus has originated in China. Has there been anything like that in Spain? Have Jews been blamed? This question is from Cheryl Sachs in Westchester, Fairfield.
Listen, you made a question to the ambassador. I think to discuss about the origin of the coronavirus, if it is Chinese or not, this is true what this crisis started in China. But to discuss about this doesn't help to our challenge. The only thing I can tell you that we have a problem, we should tackle this problem, and we should try together to sort it out. This is extremely serious. That kills a lot of people, that affects our economy and our daily life. This has broken the routine. And this is incredible. You can remember when you enter into Yad Vashem lobby, you see a video and you see the normal life of the Jews in Europe. And suddenly, from one day to the other, everything has been broken. And now we are confined at home, isolated. We cannot see our people, our family, our friends. We cannot go work. The economy is paralyzed. And this is where we should focus in order to sort it out. With solidarity, we should think about it. That helps the reflection, and we should try to help each other.
Terrific. Well, it's very sad, but we have a question here from a board member in San Francisco, and they just want to know, what guidance are you giving people about celebrating Passover, about Shabbat? What are you telling people to how to celebrate on occasions where we usually are gathering together?
You know, this is not an easy answer, because it depends if you are Orthodox Jewish or not Orthodox Jewish, because if you are not Orthodox, you may have the Zoom video, you have the telephone, you have the WhatsApp, and you can get in touch with your family and with your friends. If you are Orthodox and you keep Shabbat and you keep Yom Tov, you cannot use the telephone, you cannot use the video Zoom. But you know, what we have been trying from the Federation is at least that all the communities, all the members of the communities have their matzah, have whatever they need, and try each one from his house, each family from their house, try to celebrate Passover, or even today, Shabbat.
Thank you, Isaac. And we'll take our last question from Margot Carter, a board member from Dallas. Margot wants to know, are there small business loans available to companies similar to what the United States is offering, like payroll tax refunds or forgivable loans? Anything special for companies? This isn't necessarily a question about the Jewish community, but a question about the economic response.
Yeah, of course. You know that on March 14, the Spanish government has issued a royal decree declaring the state of alarm. And together with the state of alarm, which by the way has been extended and probably will be further extended, the government has issued further decrees providing special benefit to the small and medium-sized company, to the debt payment taxes, you know, you can name it, a lot of benefits. But the problem is that all those measures should reach really the needy people, and that's important. That will affect a lot. Will affect a lot our life, economy of the country, and the communities. No doubt about it. But you know, we should be positive, and I think our target, our mission, is to live and to survive. This is our mission. And you know what Talmud say about who's wise? Who is wise? Wise is the one who falls 7 times but stand up 8. And we will do our best. That's our mission.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Dina, do you want to say
Sure,
any last words?
Of course, I just want to thank both Ambassador Cabanas and Isaac Querub for this very informative and thought-provoking program and conversation. We want to wish you, your families, the Spanish people in general, strength, wisdom, even as we express our solidarity and friendship with the Spanish people and Jewish community today and always. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Ali, Dina, Ambassador Cabanas. I don't know if Ambassador Solomon is there, but Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to the ambassador, to Isaac, and to all of you for joining us today. I also want to thank our partner, Jewish Insider. In addition, AJC is encouraging and highlighting acts of kindness during this crisis as part of its Be a Mensch campaign. Visit ajc.org/Be a Mensch, that's BEAMENSCH, to submit your story of menschy behavior or share it on social media using the hashtag Be a Mensch. Please stay safe and healthy. Shabbat Shalom.